Congratulations. It is not easy to win in this league, and we made enough plays, 60 minutes like we talked about, to win another game.
Nah, man, way to fight out there, man. Hey, this is what it's gonna take. Us playing for each other, us being here for each other, and believing in each other, man. Giants on 3. 1, 2, 3. Giants!
Welcome to another edition of the Coach Daboll Show presented by Stop & Shop. I'm Bob Papa. On Sunday, the Giants will take on the Detroit Lions at MetLife Stadium. We're going to look back at the Giants' win against the Houston Texans. We'll have above the numbers, over, under. Carl Banks goes to the coach's tape to check out strategy. And I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Carl Banks and Coach Daboll. And Banks, he'll start with you. Business as usual, right? Stick to the plan and get the job done.
Yeah, do whatever it takes.
Do whatever it takes. And, Coach, play into the profile, right? Run the football and be physical.
Yeah, you know, I thought our guys did a good job of trying to execute the plan that we came up with during the week and during the bye week. And, again, tough, hard-fought game, but credit to our players. They made some good plays out there.
You know, Coach, a lot of fans subscribe to unrealistic football realities in that if you run the ball too much, they think you should pass it. If you pass it too much, they think you should run it. But going into a game, there's a method to the madness, right? And it would be almost malpractice not to do that and say, oh, no, forget it. We're just going to go out and pass the ball.
Yeah, and I think everything starts with us and how we do. And we have confidence in our running game and our offensive line and Saquon. And, again, you start with what you do well, and then you branch off and do some other things. And then you look at the opponent and say, okay, how can we try to attack the people that we're playing, whether it's the matchups, the scheme. And, again, you know, we don't really care, you know, how we win. We just focus on the things we think we need to do to win the game.
Can you talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley's patience, right? I mean, because I remember you telling us at the beginning of camp, dirty two. And that was that kind of game. It was a lunch pail kind of game for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there was plenty of 6s, 7s. You know, there wasn't a ton of 40s or 50s or 60s, but that's okay. We were moving the ball. We were staying ahead of schedule. We were productive on early downs, which helped us. You know, we were efficient in the passing game. And, you know, we thought that was going to be that type of game. And, you know, credit Saquon, the offensive line, the receivers. You know, that's hard. You know, Saquon's a pretty talented individual. And I have to tell him sometimes, look, every run's not going to be 40 yards, okay? But just go ahead and get it up in there and give me 3 or 4. And, you know, you're explosive enough. Well, that 4 or 3 will turn into 6 or 7, which it did. And then he hit a couple big ones for us. You know, and he played well without the ball in his hand, too.
And, you know, the thing about that, Coach, is a back like Saquon Barkley, the 2s is a victory for a defense. And then when he gets a 7, the defense is like, oh, boy, here it comes, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, those 7s as a former play caller with Mike, whether it's 2nd and 3 or pick up a first down, that's where you want to live in that type of world when you're calling plays, because now you have all your plays available to you. You know, whether it's a play action pass, a boot, another run, an outside, a screen, I mean, a drop back pass. So to stay ahead of schedule, that's really helpful for a play caller and for an offense.
Coach, obviously with this being the NFL, everybody can make plays. It doesn't matter what a team's record is. And Houston got a little momentum going. Just talk about the red zone turnovers and how important that was as far as your team dealing with some adversity but making a play when it mattered.
Yeah, I think that's the NFL, like you said. Every week you're going to have everybody's best effort. I mean, you go no further than the week before when Houston played Philadelphia. It's 14-14 at half, and a turnover kind of created the difference where Mills threw it up there. They got the pick. They went down on a short field. They scored. Houston came back, made it 21-17, and then just got away from a little bit. These games are tight. You have to do a good job of just focusing on the next play. You're going to hit some type of adversity, whether it's in the beginning of the game, the middle of the game, the end of the game, and it's much like an NFL season. You try to stay as steady as you can and focus on the next play.
Coach, coming out of the bye and the energy that the team played with, that had to give you a sense of, okay, we did a good job taking care of ourselves during the bye week, because it seemed like they came out very sharp.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice it during pregame. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of juice. I think they were excited to get back to play. We gave them some time off to rest and recover. And you just got that sense. And then, right when the game started, we had 3 3-and-outs on defense. We went down and scored on the first drive on offense. So it was good to see from the players. There was a lot of juice in the stadium from the fans, and ultimately a lot of juice from the players.
Coach, I know you like to focus on team because it takes an entire team to win, but I do want to single out Dexter Lawrence and the level of play that he has taken his game to in this defense, the leadership that he's shown, and the impact he had on that game was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, Dex has been playing well for us. He's been available. He's extremely smart. He's athletic for a big man. He's long. He's got a lot of good qualities that defensive linemen have, and his leadership has been really good for us. And I think it's really helped too to have Leo back, you know, kind of his partner in crime the last couple games, because Leo's had some good games, and those guys work well together along with the edge guys, and you know that's what you need for a stout defense.
We're just getting started here on the program. When we come back, Coach Daboll and Carl go to the building blocks. All that and much more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop.
Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show. Coach, it's time for us to get smarter. Some really key plays in the game. You always go offense, defense, special teams. Let's go through this offensive play here.
Sure. Well, we got a run and play here with Saquon where we're trying to get to the perimeter of the defense. And we do a little bit of shifting. You know, in this particular case, we know that their front is going to kind of stay stationary, try to get better angles for our blockers. We motion the tight end back to give him some eye candy. And 18 is going to try to pin Jerry Hughes here just to get the play started. And then anything that comes back across the other, you know, in this direction, 17 is going to try to hit. In this case, they just all jump up in front, so he really doesn't have anybody to block. We got two pullers out in front with our tackle and with our center. And once we can get Saquon to the perimeter with some space, it's always a good thing.
Now, when you look at the angles here, you out-leverage them. As soon as you take your receiver down inside and pin that defensive end in, you get your tight end on a defensive end, and then your receivers are sealing all the angles, and then your pullers are around. It's big on small, but all the angles you have just by sealing that edge, right?
Absolutely, and you know, you get them out in space here. You know, back in the old days, they could run and cut through the legs of the offensive lineman, but the rules have changed. So, again, another good play to get Saquon on the edge, in space. You know, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders stacked up inside. You know, Wan'Dell's really doesn't want to block behind the ball, so he wants to look for anybody coming this way. Really doesn't have much to do. Can really add on to the depth of the defense here.
But when you go back to that really quick, Coach, the key also, you get a defender that comes down inside. Number 2 goes down inside just enough for your center to get the edge on him, and now it's just pushing.
That's exactly right. You know, and they stun it inside. You know, we had a perimeter play on, again, from the shotgun with a little bit of formation and eye candy with the tight end coming back just to hold this backside player. Pretty good design here by Bobby Johnson and Kafka, and, you know, created a big play. Usually big plays result in some type of points for your offense, but to change the field position of the game is huge. This play on the defensive side, you know, we're 2nd and 25, so advantage obviously the defense when you're in this situation. A big play in the game. They're driving down the field. It's a 11-point game at this particular time in the fourth quarter, and you know, they had just gotten a penalty to bring them back to the 30-yard line, roughly the 30-yard line, and just good team defense right here. So all we're doing is rushing our 4 defensive linemen. Our 2 tackles inside being Leo and Dex, and then our 2 perimeter defensive ends. And we're playing a split safety coverage behind it. So, you know, in this case, Mills drops back, and, you know, he's kind of looking to take a shot down here on a double move on a Dory. And I'd say this is played really, really well on the back end of reading the quarterback, the release of the receiver. But it all starts, as we know, football always starts up front. So before we look at the sideline view, I think it'd be better to look at the end zone view first, because this is really the reason why it happens. So we're in a 4-man front, kind of in a wide 3 technique, almost lined up over the tackle, and Dexter's just stemming just a little bit. They set the protection over here, which they have a chip player on Kayvon, and a really one-on-one with Dexter, with the guard. And anytime you can get pushed in the middle part of the pocket, that really is the biggest effect, or has the biggest effect in the pass game, regardless of what happens on the back end.
So you talk about push.
Yeah.
And the thing I think in the defensive room, and I'm sure you'll see it, when you take this all the way back, the explosion, watch the guard's head go back.
Yep.
He just almost bench presses him, and that's when you know he got him, because he's like literally shaking him as he walks him back.
Look, it's all about pad level, leverage, hand placement, the ability to use your hands, shed blockers, and like you said, here's a great example of Dexter, really locking the guard out, causing some movement, and then using his length and an arm over to really get into what we call the paint. And anytime you can get in the paint, that has a tremendous effect on the quarterback, which in turn has a tremendous effect in the passing game. And then if you look at it from the sideline, I think we're doing a good job. We're off the receivers right now. We're going to let them throw it in front of us and go up and tackle to make it a 3rd and long situation. But again, you can see Dane right here. He's reading the release of the receiver. He's back to the quarterback. And they had just done something like this the previous play. And they came back to it. And it's a really good play by both. If Dane doesn't get it at the door, he's got a chance to get it here. Sure. But to go up and high point the ball in this situation, create a turnover in the fringe, give the ball back to our offense, just good team defense. We got it really covered all the way around. If they throw this check down, we go up, we tackle it. It's 3rd and, whatever, 20, and then we're playing the next down. Here we got a kicking game example. It's our punt team, and they were a really good special teams unit, a good return unit. And this was a point of emphasis for us all week of really trying to change field position and not let their return get started in their punt return game. And they're kind of in a hold-up mode where they're vicing, Pinnock up top as a gunner, and essentially vicing down here McLeod and getting a 2-on-1. But it starts with protection first, which they're not really trying to rush. They're doing more of a hold-up to try to get the return going. I think Jamie, does a great job of hang the distance. He's got great hang time, good distance, puts it where we want to put it in terms of the direction for the coverage unit to get down there. And it's always good to see 3 guys unblocked to the ball on a return. And that being Cam, Julian, and then Pinnock runs through on the vice.
Field position is key here, but again, you've got a gunner down that's really holding things up so that those 3 guys can come in, and you get, I believe it's Cam that replaces here.
That's exactly right. Yep, Cam replaces, and again, they're running down their lanes, and again, whether they're defeating blocks or have beat a vice, knowing where they're supposed to be and contain, it was just a good team play. No return, and then on top of that, just the finish of the play, Tay's coming in, and is the runner down? Is he not down? Is he on top of the pile? Of trying to get the ball out, which we actually do, but they ruled it that the runner's progress was going forward, and they stopped it here.
Well, Coach, this was good stuff, and we're all smarter.
I appreciate it, Carl.
We'll be back with more of the Coach Daboll Show.
Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop & Shop. It's the Giants and Lions in MetLife Stadium on Sunday. It's time for this week's edition of Head to Head with Paul Dottino and Sean O'Hara.
Okay, so let's go head-to-head for the Giants game against the Detroit Lions coming up this weekend. Sean, let's flip the screen and see who's up first. Left tackle Andrew Thomas against defensive lineman Aiden Hutchinson. Now, Thomas has been as clean as can be through the first 9 games of the season. Hutchinson, the number 2 pick in this year's draft, well, he leads all NFL rookies with 5.5 sacks so far and 10 quarterback hits. The Giants know they need to slow him down.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a good job of being disruptive. Obviously, he has the tools to be a great player in this league. And it's not just him; their whole defense is playing better. Later towards the season, they're in a win streak right now, so we got to be prepared to deal with their front.
Andrew Thomas is having a Pro Bowl season, and a lot of it's because of his balance, his footwork, and his hands, and no doubt that'll be challenged anytime he's going up against Aiden Hutchinson. You mentioned that he was the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and when you look at him on the field and you look at his athletic ability, For a tall guy, Paul, he really does a great job of bending. I had a chance to see him in training camp, and I didn't realize he was that tall, but I didn't realize how good of a lean rusher he is. And by that, I mean he gets really compact, he gets down low to the ground. So that will be an integral part of Andrew Thomas's matchup. Now, Andrew Thomas, you could see coming off of a phenomenal game against Jerry Hughes, mostly from the Houston Texans last week, basically shut him down. They had to move Jerry Hughes to the other side. I expect them to do that a lot with Aiden Hutchinson, because I expect Andrew Thomas to continue his lockdown season, and we will see Aiden Hutchinson travel around. We'll see him on the other side, mostly against Tyree Phillips. We don't think Evan Neal's going to be able to play, but if he does have a chance to, that will be a great rookie-on-rookie battle. But he also lines up inside, Paul, and they like to move Hutchinson inside to create some twist games and create some movement. So keep an eye on that. The one thing that Aiden Hutchinson does a great job of, he has really good hands. So you could see even as a young pass rusher, he's got a lot of great counter moves. He has a great spin move. He got a really great sack against the Cowboys right tackle Terrence Steele, where he spun inside. Great balance with that. And he had a really good sack on the last drive of the game against Chicago last week on second down to help them clinch that win.
Hutchinson coming off a season high 8 tackles last week against Chicago. All right, our other matchup is Kayvon Thibodeau against Penei Sewell, the right tackle for the Lions. Now, Thibodeau, remember he had that knee injury earlier in the year? Well, since that time, he's played 80% of the Giants' snaps. So he is clearly rounding into form. Now, he and Sewell were teammates at Oregon in 2019 and in 2020. But here's the thing about Sewell. He's allowed 6.5 sacks and 16 flags drawn, penalties that is, over his first 25 games in the NFL.
Kayvon Thibodeau is really coming into his own, and you mentioned the fact that he had the knee injury earlier on this year. I feel like he's got his legs back underneath him now, and what we're seeing from him is the great get-off that we saw coming out of college. So we've got a little bit of a Duck Dynasty battle going on right here. A couple of former Oregon Ducks, so they know each other. They practice against each other, so I'm sure there will be a jersey swap after the game as well. Shane Lemieux might try to get in on that. But I think one of the things that Penei Sewell, his forte is really the run game and his anchor ability. He's a very powerful, strong guy, and you're not going to want to bull rush him because he will lock you down. He's got lobster claws, so once he gets a hold of you, he's not letting go. But the one thing he does struggle with, Paul, is change of direction. So I expect to see a lot of stunts by the Giants up front. For Kayvon Thibodeau, the up and under move is something that he's susceptible to because he doesn't change direction as well as some elite tackles in the league right now. For Penei, you know, I think one of the things that you look at from Kayvon Thibodeau's standpoint, that jump, that first step is where he really gets tackles out of balance and out of position. They're so worried about that speed rush, so now they're in a hurry to get out of there. That's something that Penei doesn't do a great job of. He struggles with the speed rush. So the crowd noise. Giants fans, we need you, all right? We need you to get loud on third down. We need you to pump up the volume a little bit. Let's let the snap count be to our advantage. They're probably going to have to go silent count, which makes it better and makes a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, lets him get in that 4-point stance, that sprinter stance, and shoot out of the cannon like Carl Lewis.
Don't forget about the run game, by the way. The Lions run behind right tackle. They've got 48 of those carries this year. That is third most in the NFL, and they're averaging 4.7 yards when actually executing that play. Well, that'll do it for head-to-head this week. Let's go back to Bob.
Carl, we got a lot of top draft picks squaring off. Thibodeau against Sewell, Hutchinson against Andrew Thomas, and really a lot of it has to do with winning in the trenches, doesn't it?
No, it really does, and this is where games are won and where cultures are built. Both teams are, trying to rebuild their cultures, and you do it from the inside out.
Yeah, winning in the trenches is going to be very important for this game between the Giants and the Lions. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Madeline Burke joins us for Over Under here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop. The Giants at 7-2 take on the Lions at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. 1 o'clock kickoff at MetLife Stadium. It's time for this week's edition of Over Under. Here's Madeline Burke.
Time for a little Week 11 game time. I'm talking about Over Under. Madeline Burke, Sean O'Hara, Jonathan Casillas here. Guys, let's get right into it, shall we? Sean, I'm going to start with you here. Over under 75 receiving yards for Darius Slayton against the Lions.
Can we give him a nickname yet? Can we give him Big Play Slay? I know Darius Slay has that probably trademark, but we got to come up with something else. I'm taking the over because I think Slayton, he's continued to build week in and week out. After that Green Bay Packers game, his confidence has been sky high. So I think against this Detroit Lions defense, Jeff Okuda's giving up some big plays. I expect the Giants to go vertical and try to attack these corners.
Big fan of Slayton since he's been in the NFL. I think he's a tremendous talent, but the numbers, right? You got to look at the numbers. This year, he's only been over 75 yards one time. I got to go with the under, but I hope he goes over.
I'm going to go with the over just because, like you said, it's been a while since we've seen him do it, and this man is building. We've seen him build, especially since that Green Bay Packers game. Seen him get some big chunk plays. Send it. We want to see DJ send it. Darius Slayton's going to get a big play on Sunday against the Lions. All right, JC, over under 35 rushing attempts by the Giants offense.
After the bye week, the Giants self-scout, they looked at themselves, and I think they came up with, we're a rushing team. Saquon had 35 by himself, and I think moving forward, this is what they want to establish. They want to be able to have a solid run game and also carry the defense as well.
Yeah, I like coming out of the bye week, the very first play that the Giants had against the Texans. They brought in Nick Gates, they brought in the extra beef. They went wham, and they said, look, we're going to play smash mouth football. So I'll take the over on 35. It's total carries. It's not just Saquon.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think DJ's going to sprinkle some runs in as well. I want a line at the referee reporting for eligible. Give me the extra beef. We want it.
Go wham like a vintage record. I am here for it. Run the dang ball. Like you said, 35 carries for Saquon alone last week against the Texans, a team who allows the most rushing yards in the league. Well, the Lions allow the second most rushing yards in the league. So I don't see any reason this changes. I'm taking the over as well. All right, Sean, over under 2.5 touchdowns by Daniel Jones, running and passing combined.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on this one. DJ just threw 2 touchdown passes. I think with everybody keying on Saquon down in the red zone, we're going to see Daniel Jones outside the pocket. Give him that run-pass option. And when you look at this Detroit Lions defense, look, they've really struggled in the passing defense. They've struggled to get off the field on third down. They've struggled with big plays as well. So I think DJ's primed for a big day.
The Lions are ranked 31st overall on defense. They're struggling this year. But look, I think the Giants, what we talked about earlier in the segment, the Giants are now a rushing team now. And I think they're going to go through Saquon. So that, I think, limits Daniel Jones's touchdown output for the year, and I think he's going to stay at 2. We talked about it earlier. 2.5 is like,
you don't
2
like
is
that
good.
0.5.
Oh, yeah. The hook is, I don't know about the hook, but 2 is good for me. 2.5, I think, is a little too much.
We know the Giants offense, the run offense, is a Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley 1-2 punch. I don't see any reason that DJ doesn't keep it for one, going into the end zone, air it out for a couple. I'm going to take the over on this one as well. All right, finally, over under 250 passing yards allowed to this Lions offense, JC.
I'm going to go under. They average 253 yards on the year per game, but they only been over 250 3 times on the year, and our DBs are playing a lot better, right? Yeah, we lost Xavier McKinney, but everybody stepped up, and it wasn't just the DBs. The defensive line got involved. They're playing lights out right now. The linebackers are starting to show up. They're starting to figure out exactly who the guys are on defense, and they're playing very well, so I think they're going to keep them under 250.
I'm going to go over on this one, but I really feel like the Giants defensive backs has been one of the strengths of this team, and they've done a great job. Even with Xavier McKinney stepping out, Julian Love stepped right in. Fabian Moreau's made some big-time plays. Adoree Jackson as well, and Dane Belton getting his first career interception. I like what they're doing in the secondary. Here's why I'm taking the over. I think the Detroit Lions are going to use their running backs in the passing game. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, both good receivers. They love screen plays to them. I think that could be an interesting matchup to watch, the running backs against the linebackers in the passing game.
Now, this was a tough one for me, right? I was flirting with that 250 over, under, just the same way that half got you. But I'm going to go ahead and take the under and agree with you, JC, because I've been disagreeing with you this whole segment. And so it's about time I throw one your way and say, you know what, I'm on your team. Let's go with the under. Let's hope for the under on Sunday as the Giants host the Lions at MetLife Stadium. Now let's send it back to Bob and Carl in the field house.
Carl, the Lions can certainly move the football. They've got a lot of yardage. They've scored a lot of points this season. When you think about this game, though, it's really about controlling their rushing attack and the Giants to be able to control their own rushing attack and be productive.
It is important, Bob, but it's also important to understand that the Lions don't mind being one-dimensional. If you stop their running game, which it's a compliment, right? And they're very good at it. But they have a quarterback and an offensive system where it's not uncommon for them to be down in games and shoot themselves right back in it. So you've got to be alert to both phases of football.
Yeah, and they had to come from behind last week in their win against the Chicago Bears. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of those key pieces as Carl goes to the coach's tape with strategy here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop. In week 2 of the 1989 season, Big Blue faced off against the Detroit Lions at Giants Stadium. With their young rookie phenom and Heisman Trophy winner Barry Sanders leading the way, the Lions would jump out to a 14-3 lead in the third quarter.
Here is Sanders from the 5-yard touchdown. Unbelievable. There is graphic evidence as to why you want to use perhaps the best running back in football.
But the Giants would battle back, ignited by their own workhorse, O.J. Anderson, paving the way with this 11-yard run.
This is Anderson. Inside the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Giants!
The Big Blue wrecking crew stepped up on the defensive side of the ball, also as linebacker Carl Banks forced Barry Sanders into his first ever fumble. And Phil Simms would capitalize on the turnover, connecting with Odessa Turner to give the Giants their first lead of the day.
Turner, touchdown, Giants!
And New York never looked back, adding one more score for good measure as Phil Simms connected with his gritty tight end.
Simms, Bavaro, touchdown!
The Giants won the game, beating the Lions 24-14. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop. Sunday, it's the Giants and the Lions in MetLife Stadium. Time for strategy with Carl Banks. Carl, the Lions score a lot of points, and they use their run game. DeAndre Swift is an extremely talented player in his third year out of Georgia.
The one thing that you have to know about this Detroit Lions team, they are a high energy, high effort, and Swift is an example of such. You'll see him here with good vision. He starts one way and cuts to his left. Now, with Swift, he's very decisive when he runs the football, but when he gets in, you have to pay attention. He loves to cut the ball back to his left. You'll see it again, and I don't know if it's the strength of the blocking, but when this goes, Bob, he's here and he can bring it all the way back. So gap control is very important. You can't get caught up the field. As you see this defensive end, he starts and he goes up the field, he gets walled off, and away they go. Now let's take another look at it where he goes through the line of scrimmage. What he does, he puts stress on guys here, guys here, guys here, and guys here. So you've got to maintain your gap control every step of the way. If you don't, you'll see he'll lure you in. Fast reads, right? Everybody's on a fast read, fast read. Now look where the ball goes. He gets right to the line of scrimmage and cuts it all the way back. So even if you get washed away, your contained guy, who is right here, this is your contained guy. He's got to keep his eyes on the football and constantly close down because look where it goes, right by him. He's a spectator.
Yeah, it took a very bad angle, and that turned into a very big play in a game in which the Lions wound up beating Washington. Now, we know that the Lions have struggled defensively this year, but they have some guys that can get after the quarterback.
Bob, it is a team effort, and they have some really good schemes here, too. You'll see as we run this, they'll run some pass rush games to really get you twisted up. This is an in-tackle twist. It just loop around. Running back has to pick up when he has to pick up, but you see all the shirts to the football. A lot of silver helmets that are to the football, but this should be a basic pass rush scheme. You got a guy here who's standing up, right? And you got an end. So you've got to alert. These two guys here have to talk to each other because there is a possibility that this guy will come and the next guy will come around. And you have a tight end in there extra to block, which makes this even more perplexing when you've got two guys here that are looking that way. And you've got a tight end to block two guys. So communication is very important because once you tie up the tight end, there's no one there but the back. And you can see they continue to pursue the football.
All right, the next play we're going to show you is more pass rush, and it's with their first-round draft pick, Aiden Hutchinson, who they took out of the University of Michigan.
Going against Dallas Cowboys here. Here he is. Good speed, good burst off the football, and great individual move here. Just up the field, spin, right in the pocket on the quarterback.
He's got 5.5 sacks on the season for the Detroit Lions. That's a look at strategy with Carl Banks. It's brought to you by PSE&G, providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. When we come back on the program, Above the Numbers, here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop & Shop. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop & Shop. Lions and Giants, MetLife Stadium, Sunday, 1 o'clock. It's time for this week's edition of Above the Numbers.
Okay, so let's go above the numbers for the Giants and the Detroit Lions this weekend. Jonathan, who do we have first?
First up, we have Dane Belton. You know he's a tough guy because he played in the Big Ten at Iowa University. Big interception last week. The Giants have not done well taking the ball away this year. He did a good job in sealing that interception. It was a tough play to make in the end zone, kind of bobbled it around a little bit, but he made it secure to play, and he has to play big moving forward in replacement of Xavier McKinney.
Well, you know, you mentioned he played at Iowa. He had 5 interceptions last year in his junior and final season with the Hawkeyes. That was tied for second in the nation at the NCAA level. So he certainly has a nose for the ball. And already with the Giants, even though that was his first interception of the season last week, he had 2 fumble recoveries earlier in the year. So he does tend to have a nose for the football.
Ball. Playmaker.
Yep, and against Goff, who's thrown at least 1 pick in 6 games this year, that could be very, very critical. All right, I'm going to give you wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, why did I go here? Well, he's made 2 consecutive starts. In his 5 games played this year, after that knee injury kind of sidelined him a bit earlier in the year, 14 catches so far, with a long of only 17 against Jacksonville. I want to see him go above the numbers because in college last year at Kentucky, he had 104 catches, which was 3rd in the nation. And oh, by the way, at the Combine, he ran in the 4.4s. It's time for this guy to break out.
He needs to break out. Explosive guy, can get the ball down the field, but also on reverses, gadget plays. He's been doing that thing since Kentucky, and I think with Kadarius Toney not being there, he's the gadget guy for the Giants, and he needs to show up above the numbers for sure.
And oh, by the way, the Lions are 27th in the NFL against the pass. That could be very, very good for the Giants. All right, now, who do we have below the numbers? But Jeff Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State, and this guy's a good one.
Good player. We don't want this. We don't want interceptions. We don't want PBUs. And I just checked his stats. 15 tackles against the Cowboys at corner. That's insane. That means he's a playmaker. We don't need him making plays. We don't need him messing up stuff for the Giants offense. We don't need him doing it. We need him below the numbers for sure.
Yeah, that was back in week 7 when he really ruined things for Dallas. Now, his 50 tackles on the season, by the way, ranks 5th among NFL cornerbacks this season. Okudah has been sensational, first-round draft pick, coming off that torn Achilles last year in week 1, and he has bounced back in a very, very big way. All right, Jonathan, that'll do it for Above the Numbers this week. Let's go back to Bob.
Carl, Dane Belton had his first career interception last week, had to play a lot of snaps. You got to think that he's going to get better and better as he gets more in-game reps.
Yeah, and the one thing that stands out right away, the game wasn't too big for him. They put him in there, and it was a crucial moment in the game where he gets that interception. So that's a tribute to not only Dane Belton, but also the coaching that he's getting because he fit right in.
When we come back on the program, Coach Daboll rejoins us to take a look at the Lions. You're watching the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop & Shop.
Handoff for Pierce, trying to bounce it left. Thibodeau and the Giants engulf him, and there's a flag on the play. The ball came out as well, and the Giants say they have it, and the official says they do as well.
Just to get turnovers in general is a blessing, and trying to play complementary football, help out the offense, help out the special teams and vice versa. They're making plays, so we were just trying to compliment them.
Play fake to Barkley, back to throw. Fastball left, wide open Slayton on the cross at the 30. And then he gets grabbed around the shoulders, spun around, inside the 10, and finally dropped at the 6-yard line.
I think they're physical. I think that jumps off the tape when you watch them at all 3 levels up front, and they've got some talent. They've got some good players who can make plays and affect the games.
Fields with pressure picked up, dancing around, now in trouble, and down he goes. Julian Okwara.
at the end of the day, the objective is to win the game. So, whether we have to throw it 50 times or run it 50 times, I think we're all on the same page. We're all just trying to win the football game.
Back here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop. On Sunday, it's the Giants and Lions at MetLife Stadium. And, Coach, one of the things about the Lions this season is they score points. They've gotten a lot of wild games, and Jared Goff has kind of fit the bill for what they're asking for.
Yeah, I think he's played well. I think they play to his strengths. They have a wide variety of schemes they use in their offense. They're underneath, their play action, their boots. They can run drop back, the screen game, some versatile weapons around them. And they do a good job of mixing things up, mixing personnel up, and really keeping defense on your toes.
The one thing I noticed, Coach, is that this team takes on the personality of their coach. He's a high-energy guy, and you look at both sides of the ball and special teams with the Detroit Lions, it's energy all the time.
Yeah, and that's the way Dan is. I had a chance to interview him when I was the coordinator at Miami, and we ended up bringing him on the staff, and a former player, and I know Giants fans know him well, and just a great guy. He's tough. He is energetic. He's got a great mindset. I mean, he does a lot more power cleans than I do. I know that, getting ready for games. But great friend, really good football coach. I think you see some of the personality from him showing his team.
Mm-hmm. On the defensive side of the ball, Aiden Hutchinson, their first-round draft pick, 5.5 sacks. He got an interception this season. He kind of fits into that high motor category, although he's extremely talented as well.
Yeah, what a good football player. Very instinctive. Had an opportunity to meet him during the draft process and evaluate him at Michigan. And really, he's kind of picked up where he left off at Michigan. Plays with great effort, good technician. They can line him up in different spots along the defensive front, and he really causes issues for offensive linemen.
Coach, is one of the keys in this game, like when you look at the way they've played this year, they play in some wild games, back and forth, score a lot of points, give up a lot of points, where your team needs to get this game into your profile, which is the way you want to play.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the way it is every week. But again, they're a challenging team in terms of what they do on the offensive side. They mix up the looks on the defensive side. They've been in some close games. They beat Green Bay, caused a lot of turnovers. They had Dallas right down to the wire. They just, had a back and forth game with Chicago and beat them in a high-scoring game. So it'll be a tremendous challenge for our defense to do a good job of trying to prevent them from scoring points. And then offensively, we're going to have to do a good job of controlling the line of scrimmage, being physical, and taking advantage of our opportunities.
Coach, and this is a game where it legitimately is 60 minutes. You got to play start to finish because Detroit has been down in some games and rallied back, so you never can take your foot off the gas.
Absolutely. They have a great mindset. They play with a great mindset. And again, they can score really at any area of the field. And whether they hand the ball off to one of those runners or Goff, puts one down the field, he's a really accurate thrower down the field. And, it'll be a challenging game.
Coach, obviously, you guys are 4-1 at home. And I think last week was a little bit of a testament to how you're building confidence within the fan base, because it got loud. Houston got called for a couple false starts. And is that something that you're feeling as a team and you expect on Sunday as well?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been great. For every game that we've had this year, they've been loud. I think they've caused other offenses issues, and the more the better. And again, it's our job to go out there and play well, but we certainly appreciate the support and how they handle themselves at the game and how loud they are.
That's New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll. Giants football and the Giants and Lions game on Sunday is presented by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the New York Giants. After the game, make sure you check out Giants Postgame Live. It is sponsored by NFL All Day. So for Coach Daboll, Carl Banks, and our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Stop and Shop.